Welcome to the Growth Masterclass. The topic is a really cool topic, as you know, how to plan a successful year end. We'll talk preparation methods, strategy, tech stack, and all that stuff. We'll open up to Q&As as well throughout the webinar. So every time we're about to change a topic to something else, we will take time for Q&A. I want to start also by saying thank you to Dave and Phil for joining us and introducing you a little bit. So we'll start actually with Phil and then Dave. Just kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, great. Yeah, my name is Phil Gaudiano. I'm a co-founder of Polygon Advisory Group. We are a virtual CPA firm with a heavy focus on tax, and within that, our niche, I'll say, is crypto. So we help a lot of crypto investors and a lot of crypto companies file appropriate tax returns, and we help them with their accounting and things like that.
Thank you. What about you, Dave?
All right, so I'm Dave Villiotti. I founded Villiotti Associates, and we provide CAS services. So we offer CFO on down for our monthly CAS clients, as well as tax services. I also host a podcast called Businesses Start Here.
So here's the agenda for today. We'll start, well, of course, we started with intros, and then we'll get to the source discovery, qualification, engagement stage. And then, everything that has to do with the planification of that year end, what kind of challenges that you had. We're going to ask you also to share in the chat what kind of challenges you're working on right now, so we can kind of help you out maybe with tips and tricks. And we'll really get into deeper knowledge of how to plan for a successful one.
Yeah, so I'll go first again. So we have basically two pieces, because we have the CAS model and the tax model. But both of them are pretty similar in how we organize it and package it to clients. So for the CAS model, we use a flat monthly fee. The client can choose what services they opt into, and we charge the same thing every month. To avoid scope creep, we are very clear about what isn't included as much as what is included, and they opt into specific services. For tax, we actually in June just completely revamped how we do taxes. We went from more of a transactional model to a relationship model. So we're now on a subscription basis. I think we have 2 clients that we might have grandfathered in just because they're close friends of mine. But everybody's on subscription basis, and we meet with them regularly. Maybe that's a word I can't pronounce. regularly throughout the year. So we set up quarterly meetings that we touch base with them throughout the year, as well as they have access to us an unlimited amount throughout the year between those meetings. So that's how we do it. We'll get into some of this later, I think, but we just found that we can't keep doing what we have been doing and have a healthy lifestyle for myself and my staff. And we're really providing more value to our clients now, because we're including the tax planning throughout the year, as well as just that transactional tax preparation at the end of the year.
Yeah, actually, Dave, I'll probably be calling you after the webinar to see how that subscription thing worked out for you. That's something we've been toying with for a long time, and we just haven't had success at getting people to buy into it. But probably some of that's on us. Most of it's on us. But anyway, similar to Dave, we've got kind of two steps in the process. One is the tax work, and one is the crypto work, and those are all done on kind of a year-end engagement basis. And so we're more of a traditional model tax firm where we take on a ton of clients in January and February, and then try to kind of parse that out throughout the year and hit September 15th or October 15th with all the work being done. But yeah, just lately in the ongoing compression of tax season and things like that, more and more people are getting extended. So there's things to do there. We've always encouraged open communication, and so it's not unusual for us to get emails throughout the year. I think that's a good thing, because it's one of those things where, like Dave was saying, taxes have grown to touch more and more of our lives. And as tax pro, I don't know how many tax pros are on this call, but I'm sure we've all had the experience of someone coming in February and saying, oh, I sold my house and I moved to a different state and I got, 3 W-2s this year and sold my investments. How come my tax bill's so high? It's like, well, because we didn't know when all this was going on, right? That the time to fix problems is not, next year. It's now. And so that's probably a big advantage of having that kind of subscription model that we don't have yet. But that said, we still do get a lot of those calls. And that's been an issue for us, how to charge for that, and how to, bill our time and stuff like that. Most of the time we just answer them and it kind of goes away. But that's where it all stems from is, you've got the crypto services, which is a reconciliation service. And then you've got the tax service, which is just traditional tax prep and any sort of planning that you can do proactively while you're doing the return to let the client know, how they might handle situations that come up. And then just kind of bird dogging situations as they come in throughout the year. Yeah, well, so for us, the year-end process is really about, modifying the processes that we have. And by that, I mean, we take a look at our workflows. We do kind of a post-mortem after tax season ends. And we get together and we say, what worked, what didn't work, where could we do better? Where can we make it a more seamless process for the clients and things like that? And then we try to kind of, brainstorm ideas where we might fit different elements into our existing processes and things like that. We try to be, once you realize that a business is just a process, then that frees you up to think about only the process. And so that it's a constant refinement of everything that we have doing, everything that we have laid out within our workflows to see where we can do better. So as in terms of, what processes we have in place, it's really the company itself, because it is all one process.
It's important to go in with a plan, but I think Mike Tyson said everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. So you need to be able to react to what's happening in real time. You're saying it's gut and intuition, but also your experience allows you to say, looking at the information, this is where things aren't going the way we want them to. Let's make some changes to fix that.
Yeah, and a lot of that is just staying in touch with your team, because as the manager, you might not be in tune with what's going on, down at the client level as much as you'd like to, in terms of things, simple things, document collection, reviews getting hung up or something like that. And so it's important to have those touch points with your team, on whatever schedule, every week or every, a couple times a week, whatever you want to do, just to make sure that everything's going still smoothly. Yeah, that's a great quote by Tyson, and it is very apt for tax season in general. But that said, it is still important to have a plan, because that's where it all stems from. But yeah, having an admin is incredible. Having a staff has been incredible. Making the jump from a solo shop to a firm with staff has been incredible, because you can be much more reactive when you're not the one doing every little piece of work along the line.
The biggest positive change we made this past tax season is having an admin. Because if you think about it, there's probably 30 to 45 minutes of admin work per return. And if you're, that's depending on how many returns you do, that adds up very quickly to taking a lot off your plate, especially I'm the only one on our firm that does the taxes. So taking that off my plate is huge. And having been a solo preparer yourself in the past, that's almost half of your time on some returns, depending on how complicated some of them are.
Yep. Getting those letters to look right,
Yep.
Getting everything uploaded, yeah, that's a lot of time suck where you could be doing something that's incredibly, more valuable to the client. And so having the ability to push that down to someone who's overall responsible for that and knows how to do it well. Right. And our admin is worlds ahead of me in terms of all that stuff. I just kind of shoot her a message and she goes and does it, whereas I would be staring at the computer for a half an hour to try to figure it out. So it's great. Once you have that, it really frees up a lot of capacity.
Yeah, absolutely.
So ours all starts with the the postmortem meeting, right? So we all sit together and we talk about what didn't work. And from what didn't work, we develop a list of things that we need to improve. And then from there, it's you know, thinking through the process, thinking through where we can make these improvements. If it's something that we can change quickly, if it's just, you know, one more email sent out for a status update or something like that, that's easy enough. If it's something that we might need to look for some other app to put in our tech stack, then we can go and start to evaluate those solutions and things like that. But it really, you know, nothing can get done until you know what you need to do. And so that's really the beginning of the process has to be everybody together, just basically trashing everything you did for the previous 10 months, you know. And that's a lot of this stuff is just, you know, we're trying to fine tune a process, and a lot of the ways that you get to knowing where you need help or where you need to make changes is just punching holes, you know. So we're just going through and saying everything that was not that didn't make our lives easier, and then we work to try to change those to make our lives easier next time.
So we're a little bit different in that we get about 80% of our returns done by the April deadline, mostly because we do a lot of CASA as well. We want to free up myself and to help out with that. And I find that the longer that we let taxes drag on, the more difficult it is for that. So we do a postmortem in May after the big 4/15 deadline. Or if they change it to June, we'll do it in July, depending on what happens and based on previous years. But we try to pull as much out of tax season and year end as possible. So we pull as much stuff forward as we can. So one of the biggest things we changed, especially with moving to the subscription model, is we send all of our engagement letters and our proposals through Ignition out in June. So it was a little slow getting responses because we just finished with people. The last thing they wanted to think about in June was taxes. So we gave them until July 31st. So we sent it early, right after we got back from Engage. We sent them out. We gave them about a month and a half to sign. So we don't have to worry about any of the billing piece throughout tax season. So our main strategy is to get as much done outside of tax season as possible when you're fresher and there's not as much time pressure to get it done. So even though we don't extend a lot, it's because we're kind of preparing throughout the year to get things done for the following year. We go with kind of the gut test, like and I've heard a lot of people talk about this before, when the phone rings, what's your reaction? And I know the people that it's like, I'm not answering this call, but you have to, obviously.
Right.
Those are the people that we put on a list that it may be time for us to offboard them. That's really it. I mean, if you're mean to my staff, you can be mean to me all you want, but if you're mean to my staff, that'll get you off our client list immediately. And keeping track of when people get things in, like if you're missing deadlines that we've sent to you and you've had multiple reminders, we want to work with you throughout the year. So if you're not getting us the stuff we need to work with you throughout the year, we don't feel we're providing that value. We're going to focus our efforts on people that want to engage with us with the value that we can provide. So that's really what we're doing. We're looking at who we can provide the most value to. And if you're one of those people that we don't want to answer the phone for, that means you're taking our energy and hurting us from providing value to other clients that we have. So we're protecting our staff and our clients, and we're looking at who are the ones that allow us to be the most productive and most efficient for our clients.
Just to agree with everything Dave said. Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, at the end of the day, the phone check is a good one. I read it or I heard it sometime. Some business guru said, you know, we need to shift the conversation from the client is always right to let's work with the right clients. And that's been one of the main ethoses in our firm is you know, getting rid of people, not getting rid of, it sounds mean when I say it like that, but culling the client list. to get rid of people that don't necessarily have a positive impact on your firm. Because at the end of the day, we're responsible as the leadership. We're responsible to our employees, so we're responsible for them having a good quality of work life, and we're also responsible to the clients. We're responsible for giving them a good work product in a timely fashion. And if there's people who are kind of infringing on that, then we need to let them go. We just do it. I mean, there's no other way. There's people talk about sending emails and saying, oh, effective January 1st, the blah blah blah. But we just do it. We just send it out as part of the engagement. The proposal that we send. And if people complain, then maybe we'll answer them, maybe we won't. But our admin has a boilerplate answer about that she can email back about staffing increases and the constriction of the tax season and this and that and the other. But at the end of the day, when a person opens that proposal, they know whether they're going to accept it or not, and nothing you say is really going to affect that. So it's just you just got to rip the Band-Aid off and charge what you think you're worth. As far as how we engage, you do that. I don't do that. I send you guys an Excel and Ignition, I don't know, sprinkles fairy dust on it or something, and then I get a whole bunch of engagements back. Yeah, no, we've used the bulk engagement for the last 2 years, I think, and that's been great because it's effortless. We download our client, our export our client list from Ignition into Excel, and then we take out the ones that we no longer want to work with, and then within Ignition we've got everything we do is templated. And all of our engagements are standardized. There's not a whole lot of one-off ad hoc kind of stuff. It's all a standard engagement for based on the type of business entity or person that you are. And so it's very easy, and we've worked really hard to make sure that it's general enough to encompass everyone. And that just makes it a lot easier for us, because then if we do get a phone call and we do want to work with someone in February, we've had situations where I've sent an engagement letter while I'm on the phone with a client. It's just, click, and it's there. So Ignition's been great for that, just streamlining that whole thing.
Yeah, so price increase. So because we had such a major change this year, our goal was actually to reduce by half the number of clients that we prepare taxes for. So we did, the template we made in Ignition was, I think, world class. So my office manager, practice manager, and I recorded a video explaining the changes. So we had the video explaining what the changes were, why we were making the changes, how the client will be impacted, and we had a image of the tiers that we had, because for renewing clients, we have 3 tiers. So the price increase was just built into that, and similar to Phil, I don't know how much that video impacted people's decision or not. We kind of, like I said, we were hoping that a majority of them actually wouldn't sign, because we got out of lax tax season and knew that we couldn't continue doing what we were doing. So we kept our revenue just about the same, slightly, as of now, maybe 4 or 5% lower, but we have about half the clients that we had. So we're earning the same money basically for half the work. As far as re-engagement, so for our monthly service, it's a 1-year term. So they're paying 12 payments on a monthly basis. Everything that we do engagement proposal wise is all done through Ignition. And even though I sent out 200 and some proposals, because we had the template set up, it took me half an hour.
Well, I think it kind of depends on why you're letting them go. But yeah, we've got, our insurer gives us kind of a templated language to use for a disengagement letter. And it depends on whether you're doing it as part of kind of like overall firm housekeeping, which is, like what Dave was talking about. You want to get rid of half your clients. So you're not gonna call them all a nasty name or something like that. They're fine people. It's just that the firm is moving in a different direction. So that's one type of letter. We're no longer going to be able to serve you because we're doing this other thing now. Or if there's cause, which for us cause has been, like Dave said, speaking poorly to employees, missing deadlines, asking 1,000 questions, and scope creep to where we're spending hours and hours on your project that we shouldn't be spending. And those are pretty clear cut. We just sent them a letter that says, effective such and such date, we will no longer be your tax firm, basically.
Yeah, we do the same thing. We don't have two different engagement letters. To me, it's kind of the same thing, whether it's a cause or you're just outgrowing that potential client. We just say it's just not. It basically says you don't fit the current status of the firm. We do it mostly through email. We've had some contentious ones that we've sent certified letters to, just to make sure that we get a signed response, so we know that they got it. But when we send email, we send it with tracking, so we can see that they opened it as well. So if they try to come and say, hey, you didn't file a return, and we can see that they did open the email, then we say you were notified of this. Here's the receipt that you saw it. So that's how we make sure there's some kind of tracking either way, just to protect ourselves.
Thank you so much, you, Dave, and Phil, and Maria, for being part of this webinar. This was such helpful tips and tricks, so thank you a lot. Well, thanks again so much, everyone, for attending, and you will get that recording really soon available.